Okay, we are live with Charles Waugh and Kensen Waugh and Nicholas Alexander Karadza.
Full name, like royalty, man. I've trained him well. That's the way I should be referred to.
Nicholas Alexander. Who spends more time in Florida between you two?
Oh, definitely my brother.
Oh yeah, I knew the answer to that question.
I work on my 10.
Yeah. You got to speak right into the mic. Yeah, there we go. Move it up like this, Kensen. There you go. Yeah, there we go. And
he was just there for 6 weeks.
Yeah, so you were there for 6 weeks.
Yeah, but he was working, right?
Yes.
So
working on the house.
I'm helping out the younger brother.
Yeah,
you know? So we got to stick together.
So you guys bought a property there because what was the decision to buy the property there? That was your parents pushing you pushing your parents. You bought it as a family, correct?
Yes.
Yes, we actually pushed my parents, and it was one of your articles that you wrote from like 2016, 2017 that helped push it over the edge. You talked about lifestyle. Some properties you buy is for lifestyle, not for cash flow. And my parents growing up very frugal, my dad grew up poor. They didn't want to buy a property in Florida, even though they love Florida. And we really want to try to push the lifestyle, especially after they've retired. My father had some health challenges, and it's been amazing. Like since then, it's like my parents' favorite spot to go to. So it's been a great decision for us and the family.
So, and that's in just north of West Palm in Florida.
That's right. Palm Beach Gardens.
Palm Beach Gardens.
That's right.
And then and they do use it?
They do. So between them, my brother and his family, like they use it pretty much all the time.
So is this your way of saying you don't use it?
In the past 3 years, I think I've been there 3 days.
No way.
Yeah. I want to use it more.
You're just working in the business?
Just grinding here back at home.
So you enjoy the grind then?
I enjoy the grind, but I do like to take short and frequent trips. I like to go down there for like a weekend and then come back.
Well, yeah, we can tell, dude. You just said 4 days in 3 years, where it's not even a weekend. You're there for the day.
A few hours.
Well, COVID kind of messed that up too, but
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so and then do you guys call your business a family business? How do you refer to your business when you're talking about it together?
Yeah, that's a good question. We haven't really referred it to as a family business, but now my brother was in before. Then he kind of did his own
thing. So describe for anyone who's listening who has not heard you guys before, can you describe the business? Just paint the picture for everyone.
Yeah, so Gateway Group, I founded it 8 years ago. It's a development and construction company. And my brother was in it before. He kind of is on the capital side. He grew up, he worked on Bay Street. So he likes all the finance stuff.
He's Tom's enemy.
Yeah. And we kind of balance each other's out because I'm willing to take on more risk. He's more risk averse and conservative. So it's a nice compliment there. But my brother went off and did his own thing for a while, and kind of now he's back, and we need capital. We need capital to scale the number of projects we're doing, take on larger projects, more projects.
So what type of projects do you do?
So we do flips. Is like short term, is our 6-month cash flow.
Residential flips or
residential flips, like single family homes, convert to duplexes, things that a lot of Rockstar members do. That will then fund our small scale infill developments. Those projects typically take about 2 years to complete. That's where we get an oversized lot. We'll sever it into a few lots and then build and then sell. Those 6 months is flips, 2 years is our small scale infills. Then we also have larger projects that are typically 3 to 5 years. That's where you take larger pieces of land, go through the rezoning process, and then build. So that's kind of our full.
And those larger projects are also residential?
All residential.
So describe that larger project for me. What would that be?
For example, we have a project in Toronto. It's 12 townhouses. It's still infill. It's within the urban boundary. Small piece of land, which poses extra challenges. We don't do greenfield developments like the large builders who go out to the farm fields and build on hundreds of acres. We're in tight spaces, which is like, then that poses challenges with neighbors, with stockpiling fill, that sort of thing. But in Toronto there, 0.4, almost half an acre, 12 townhouses we have approved. And we're just going through the site plan process right now, is when you go through all the details with the city to finalize. And hopefully we go to construction in January 2023.
Well, after it's all done, I'll ask you what it was like working with the city. Not now. We're not going to ask. We're not going to ask now. Well, that'll be a follow-up show once it's all done. Then we can openly talk about that.
So we focus on low-rise. That's singles, towns, and semis. We do have one project approved in Westdale near McMaster University for a 6-story student residence, and we've never built mid-rise before, so that That could be interesting. We would need my brother to raise a lot of capital. We would need to find some expertise, put that all together if we do plan on building out. We do have the option of selling it at site plan approval, but we're kind of going through that right now.
Because I guess at site plan approval, it's going to have gone up in value now because you can build on it. So you could just get rid of it at that point if you
Absolutely. It took us 3 years there to get the zoning approvals. We came across huge opposition in the neighborhood. I actually live there. So I'm a local.
Do you live there? I didn't know you lived there.
Yeah, I live there. A lot of people didn't know that. And there was people that wanted to appeal that. And then when they heard about they looked me up. They heard some podcasts I've done with you guys. They heard the story and then they connected with me. Then they realized what our vision is, local, born and raised in Hamilton, not like this crazy rich Asian or anything like that.
You're not pulling up in Lamborghinis and the Ferraris.
Exactly. When they realize kind of what we want to do and we want to do good things in the community, they're like, you know what, we're not going to appeal. So it took 3 years though. That's really, really long.
I've said I'm surprised you guys got that approved in that area. That's not an easy task because in Westdale there is a lot of pushback and rightfully so in a lot of cases because a lot of the student properties there, the way they've been managed and I guess maybe mismanaged, has created kind of a community that if you live there with your family might not be what it was.
Exactly.
But it's it's too bad because those types of communities, it's a nice community, and if everyone just manages the places properly, it can be a great community still. It's just it's like the old saying, right? The rotten apple, what is it? One rotten apple ruins a bunch. The old saying the old saying that I don't know. But it's just it ruins it for everyone, right? But it's cool that you guys got that approved because the right development done properly can benefit everyone.
Exactly. And then that will also help with taking students away from some of those bad apples you're talking about.
Yeah.
Those terrible landlords who are stuffing 12 kids into this unsafe house. When you have these purpose-built student residences, that will help take them out of those neighborhoods. It'll be better for everybody.
Yeah.
And my brother actually lives there. He lives in Westdale as well.
Oh, do you live there too?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
By accident, you guys ended up, or you purposely moved there because he was there? What was because we live in the same area too, but it was kind of by accident.
I think it was just, it was not really planned. It was just opportunity that came up.
We actually bought our houses around the same time.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
By fluke.
Yeah. Well, it's a good area. It's a nice area of Hamilton,
yeah.
right? If you're going to live in Hamilton, it's one of the nice areas to choose from.
It is.
So the low-rise stuff, you think that'll be something you do going forward?
Yeah, that's definitely.
Why will you stick with that?
Well, we have the expertise. That's our niche.
Mm-hmm.
So
and the profit on the infill projects that you subdivide or sever the lots, is that a sweet spot? That feels to me like a very profitable.
It is profitable, and what we like to say is that for the small scale infills, it's a real niche where it's perceived as too complex for the average investor and it's too small for the larger builders. So it's a real sweet niche. We teach it. We've talked to even a lot of Rockstar members about it, and people, the investors can totally do it. It's not that difficult once you break it down step by step.
It's funny because there's multiple people doing it now. Like Spencer Brown has been on here talking about it. Young Rockstar member.
Yep.
Victoria Suen is doing it.
Exactly.
Is Andy Tran's involved with you on these projects?
Yes, he's involved in some of our projects
as
well. So yeah, he's done it. There's a bunch of people who we've worked with, whether it's students or consulting clients that have all done it on their own.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then Kensen, I remember when we first met, were we talking about you while you were still working on Bay Street? Were you about to quit?
I was just about to quit.
Yeah, we had that meeting, I think, in our old office, no?
Tom, I think
about
everyone that comes onto your podcast, they end up leaving their jobs.
Yeah. I have flashbacks to talking to you about
that's going to backfire sooner or later.
No, I think I learned a lot in the corporate world. I learned a lot.
I think it's worth going. It really helps you understand a lot of stuff. I don't think there's a bad side to it. And for some people, it's the right thing. That's where they're happy and good for them.
Exactly.
And a lot of the processes that we learned in the corporate world, we took to Rockstar, and it kind of helped us evolve here. Yeah. So it was totally beneficial. But I forget why you were on the fence, but then you ultimately did it. And so how has it been?
It's been life-changing, to be honest.
Income. Let's just go to the money for a second.
Right.
Did you freak out when you lost the salary?
Yeah, it was hard to adapt because you're used to getting that paycheck. But sometimes you just got to take that leap of faith and go where you're not comfortable. And you figure it out, life's short. And, I was a portfolio manager at age 28. And I was like, okay, so I know my life for the next 30, 40 years, right? Retire early, get a good income. build my
And it's gonna be
AUM.
boring as shit. It's
gonna
gonna be
live the
boring
dream,
as
right?
shit. Yeah.
You're gonna play a lot of golf though.
You know, he was mulling it over for a few years. He knew he wanted to make the jump. I think one thing that I told him is like, what's the worst case? You can always go back and get the same job or
Right.
go work back in the industry. So take the plunge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd your parents think though when you were telling them that?
Oh,
Yeah, okay, that's what I was thinking.
There's a
yeah.
lot of resistance.
Yeah,
Right. You land on base.
it's a very nice way
you're-
to say
you're a
it.
portfolio manager. You've reached your full potential. But honestly, ever since transitioning, I've been so thankful that I took that leap.
And are your parents happy for you now? They've come to terms, or they're still.
you know, I think they're still concerned.
Yeah.
My mom, it's mainly my mom or our mom. She's definitely looking out for the best interests of us.
Sure. Yeah.
Before, when I was an engineer and when I lost my job, she was not happy when I was like, I'm jumping into real estate development. Don't know a thing about it. Don't have the capital, but gonna figure it out. She's always wanting like stability. So
Yeah.
she views the 9 to 5 as more stable, safe, and secure. And she's like, why would you leave an engineer? Because especially like in Asian culture, you know, you gotta be an engineer, lawyer, or doctor. And so me leaving that to do my own thing, and especially when
Yeah, I never think about that. So you were kind of looked down upon from
Yeah,
your
exactly.
own family.
Yeah, so I think they couldn't talk to our family members about what I
Yeah,
was
got it.
Because you had the status symbol of being an engineer,
a
right?
professional.
That's-
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, also like, you know, the reason why I think my mom has that outlook for us, she wants that security for us, because when they were running their business, there was times where they didn't have enough money, and my mom has a story where she went to get out cash with her debit card and it ate her card because she didn't have any funds in the account. So my mom and dad have gone through a lot of volatility in the past.
I wonder if ATMs still do that. I used to work at the bank, and I remember when ATMs would eat people's cards. They would come in and they would be in a little box behind the ATM, and then we would have to kind of go look up which customer it was and what happened to the account. Right. I don't know if ATMs still do that or not. But when your parents came to Canada, how old were they? They were.
My mom was 16, and I think my dad was around 23, 24.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
And they were both.
They met here.
They met at University of Toronto,
Okay.
ATM.
and they happened to come from the same city.
Oh,
back
wow.
in Malaysia. Like, yeah, it just happened to be.
Mm-hmm. But they didn't know each other in Malaysia.
No,
And
they met here.
And then Kensen, why did you use the words life-changing about quitting your job?
I think for me, it's getting outside that bubble. I think when you work in corporate, you start talking a certain way, you have a facade a certain way, and you start living on the society's terms rather than your own terms. And that's why, you know, your slogan resonates with me. It's, you know, a big reason as to why we do what we do is your life, your terms. And it's about, you know, like this morning, I did CrossFit and I went for a swim, and I went and I made a shake for my son. You know, like back then, it's like get to work by 8:30. You have to read the markets before it opens and be, you know, everything is just stuffy and uptight, and you're pretty much working on someone else's criteria. And so for me, having that liberty to just take that plunge and be able to follow my curiosity, even like I wouldn't be learning about Bitcoin and Teslas, you know, working where I was. It's learn about the blue chips, things that are safe, keep it safe. Don't overperform.
And you were traveling when you quit your job. What was that about? You were just exploring and kind of finding yourself? Because I feel like you were going to different conferences in the US.
Yeah.
Walk us through that. Why were you doing that? What was that all about?
Yeah, for me, I was too used to living a conventional life. You know, like I went through education, went to Western, got good grades.
You went to Western too?
Yeah.
I feel like everyone I'm meeting went to Western. Holy smokes. Okay.
Got good grades, landed on Bay Street. I followed the path that you're supposed to follow. And what I realized after that experience, I was 28. I was like, I'm not happy. You know, like I did everything that you're supposed to do, and you're supposed to be happy. Why aren't I happy? And then I did some self-reflection, read some books. I'm like, you know what? I gotta change this pattern up. And I talked to one of my buddies who was running a company, and he's like, the best thing you'll ever do is just travel solo. I was like, solo traveling? Like, I don't think any of my culture would approve of that. Like, you don't travel solo. And so what I did was I booked a one-way ticket to Thailand, and I gave myself a deadline. It's like, you're going to resign by that date. But at that point, I didn't know. So I booked the ticket before resigning, and I gave myself a deadline. I said, you're just going to figure it out, you know? And so I'm still here.
Wow.
That's cool. I think the coolest, I mean, there's a lot to that, and then all the experiences and stuff like that, but it's pretty insightful for someone at 28 to kind of be able to have that, self-reflection and be like, I'm already looking out at my future. I realize I'm not happy and I want to make the change now.
Right.
Very often that doesn't happen until I'd say probably 10 years later, like, late 30s on the early side, maybe to earlier mid 40s. And then by that time, a lot of people feel stuck because of where they are in their life. So it's kind of cool that you were able to do that at that age.
Yeah.
What'd your manager call it? The golden handcuffs?
Yeah. Golden handcuffs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What book did you read? You said you read some books. What were some of the books that you come to mind during that phase of your life?
Alchemist with Paulo Coelho.
Cool.
That was one of them.
Okay. Do you have a list of like?
And you were the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just
Their
think you're
their
lucky you had a
parents-
supportive brother, because I feel like at that point your brother was kind of like, I remember having that meeting with you guys and Charles was right there and he was kind of like supporting your decision. I feel like either way, like he was going to support you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool that you had that, because for Kensen to take that leap to have his brother support is pretty helpful. A lot of people don't have that.
Yeah, no, I agree. When you started saying that, I thought this was a way to bring it back to like you being a good big brother too or something. That's what I was expecting. And then it turned out to just be a nice thing.
Dude, I don't have to say I'm a good big brother. That's always assumed. I don't have to repeat the obvious.
I was
these
also
things-
thinking,
dude, these things, why would I have to ever say that?
I was thinking after that meeting that you're like public enemy number one to their parents.
yeah, probably not the only parents too. How many people have we got to buy investment
Who's this
properties?
Tom Rockstar guy? What the hell is this guy?
When we called this business Rockstar Real Estate, we had a client already because we were working with our real estate licenses at a different brokerage. And he said, guys, did you have to call it Rockstar Real Estate? I'm already having a hard enough time explaining to my wife that I want to buy investment properties. And now you called the business Rockstar Real Estate? I guess I'm done. I don't even actually know if I ever saw him again. I think he was done.
Yeah, I remember the story. I forget who that was. But
was it. But anyway, Kensen, what was one of your biggest fears, and did that fear come true? Like to me, I think it would be like running out of money or something. Was that one of them, or no? Was it something else?
I think for me is fear of failure, because you go from such a successful career, so to speak, and all of a sudden you have to start all over again. It's like going from a PhD back to a student. And for me, the fear of failure was real. You have a lot of pressure. Why did you take that leap? If you fail, then it's like, I told you not to do it. You should have continued your path. And so that was probably one of the biggest fears at that point. And then, it's just fear of the unknown. What am I going to do with my life? Everything was defined for me. I was nice and cushy, but now I'm on my own, right?
It's funny because I think we all just kind of wrestle with that for our whole lives.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're in the corporate world for 30, 40 years, you're probably thinking about that regularly anyway.
Well, we're programmed for safety, right?
Mm-hmm.
So naturally, our brains are wired to get us to take the safe path to things. We have to kind of like force ourselves to go out of that path. So isn't like if we're not actively doing that, then for most of us, we're kind of wired to take that path.
I think Tom and I are strange. We're always seeking danger.
Yeah. Like, what's next? Okay. Climb that hill. What do we handle next?
Yeah,
Check that
only
off the
because
list.
you have two people in your lives to fix the problems.
Yeah. Problems. What problems? Yeah, pretty cool, Kensen. And then just last thing on this, when you left, I feel like you ended up at some business conferences as well in the US. So after Thailand, you came back, and then I feel like that was you working on your skills. You were kind of learning about marketing, and was that a natural evolution, or did you feel forced? Like, holy shit, I better learn how to like sell some shit online or something. Where did that decision come from?
For me, really, it was like I was at the bank and I kept hearing these, the whole digital, the whole digital era, digital banking, digital everything. I'm like, I can't even make my own website to generate leads for clients. Like, I have to go through Scotia's network. And for me, I was like, this is so backdated. And that was where it sparked my curiosity, because everyone was investing in digital spaces. I felt so far behind. And so that's where I went to a conference in Texas where I met my now wife. And that was, and then I went to traffic and conversion in San Diego. And for me, it was just understanding the power of leverage and social media and how, when I was raising capital and I was meeting high net worth clients, I'm doing 1-by-1 pitches versus there's this whole other place where it's like you do a couple clicks and you create a landing page and whatnot. And your exposure, just like this podcast, you can scale that infinitely almost. Baby Shark is 9 billion views on YouTube, right? There's no way you're meeting 9 billion people. So for me, it was about that curiosity that sparked and working smarter than harder, really. And so that's kind of what caused that curiosity for me to go down that path.
You seem so balanced in your thinking. I feel like I would have been more freaked out than you were. It's really cool to hear how calm you are describing this. I'm sure there were some freak out moments through this, but you seem so calm and collected.
Yeah, you definitely do. I'd be like, well, here's what I did. I just I'd be freaking out about the whole thing still.
Yeah. There was one moment when I quit and Nick and I were working together. I was June of 2007 and we lost 9 real estate deals in a row. And I remember walking out of the office. I don't even think I was that concerned, but I remember you looked over the car. I think we were going home in the same car. And I think you said, hey, we better close one of these deals soon or like we're going to have problems just from a money point of view. Right. And I remember when then Nick had a little bit of concern on I don't know if it was concern or he just made that comment. Then I was like, oh shit, there's a chance that this isn't going to work. I hadn't really thought of that. I just assumed this is going to work.
Well, I look at the numbers more than Tom. So I was looking at the numbers. I'm like, this is a problem. They're only going down. we were reinvesting everything into the business anyways, but we kind of need them to go up so that they can go down again.
Yeah, it went down pretty hard and fast for quite some time, actually.
But it's funny that you say that because if we look at the challenges that we've seen over the years, it's like we were in 2007, we were losing these deals. And meaning like we were in competition, and so other people were.
It was a hot market,
and that was then. You know, it was no different. And that was what 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's funny in the real estate market. Every year, people will come to us and say, "Man, it was so much easier 2 years ago. There was more properties. It was easier to get properties." We heard that We've heard that for straight since 2007. Like, 2 years ago. Do you remember those days? It was so good.
Ups and downs. Even
ups
times in 2017 and stuff. People are like, "Oh, it's still so hard." I'm like, guys,
let me guess. Those are the people that don't ever buy. They're waiting for the crash.
Always. Yeah. I never forget in that office, one guy walked in and we found him a single family home in Burlington. It was about $285,000. This is a single family home in Burlington, Ontario for $285,000. Even at that time, that was like a really good price. Yeah. And Nick and I couldn't buy it because at that time we had no income declared. I had quit, we couldn't qualify to get it. And I was showing the guy the numbers on this. I'm like, you could rent it out for this much. This is a no brainer. And he divided the purchase price by the property taxes, and the ratio was off compared to something he had read in some real estate investing book, where they said the property taxes divided by the purchase price should be a certain ratio or something.
Maybe like some small town in Ohio or something.
Yeah, that works. And he's like, I can't buy this because the property taxes are not appropriate for this house. And I thought, oh my gosh, this guy's not looking at the income and the expenses. Just focus on the priorities on this thing. And we didn't get the house. I'll never forget.
Yeah. Having said that, what are you thinking now? Because rates have gone up a little bit. Market's soft. Inventory spiked at the fastest rate that we've seen in a long time. It is higher than 2017, but it's not that much different right now at the spike. So, interest rates are up, inventory spiking, demand's dropping. It's inventory spiking as a different time as prices are higher and rates are going up. So there is like some pressures. I'm just curious, like, how do you guys view this type of stuff? Is there concern to you because of what you're doing in some of your projects? You're just like, well, like, what are you looking at?
We view it as an opportunity, actually. And I always quote Warren Buffett, be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. And there's a lot of fear out there in the markets right now. And again, we view it as a buying opportunity. We've actually been extra aggressive recently as the market has turned. So last week, in a span of 48 hours, we picked up 3 new projects. And before that, the past 6 months, I think we might have picked up 1, if not 0, because the market's been stupid from like October to like March. Yeah, everyone's just fighting and everything's over asking. So that's when we were like calming down. We're like, okay, let's slow down our acquisitions. But now we see this as a big opportunity. And then long run for our developments, we're still bullish on real estate. Yes, there could be volatility this year. Nobody has a crystal ball. Interest rates are likely going to continue going forward, increase, including on June 1st. But long-term wise, we feel with the fundamentals of immigration, supply and demand, we believe real estate, the prices are still going to go up. I don't know what's going to help with affordability. Nothing seems to, there's no real good solutions out there. So again, we're very bullish on our current projects, and we're still actively acquiring new projects.
I feel like you guys just have this unique opportunity because you said it best. Nobody, the big players aren't doing infill projects. The beginner investor is thinking it's too complicated when really it just takes a bit more expertise. I'm not trying to downplay your expertise by any means.
Absolutely, yeah.
But you found this little niche that I feel like infill projects going forward are going to be where it's at.
And it's like the provincial mandate. We need more intensification to help with housing affordability. And like these single family homes, they're going to be like dinosaurs in the future. You're seeing the townhouses, back-to-backs, stacked towns are now becoming our new single-family home. And I listened to your recording with Peter Politis recently, talking about, that's the CEO of Greybrook, talking about how houses now are getting smaller. Things are shrinking, either condo size or even when you're looking at ground-related units like singles, towns, and semis, everything's getting smaller, or you're getting more dense product, such as back-to-backs or stacked towns or townhouses are now the same.
Yeah, it was interesting because what they said, because when we were talking about that, and he said, they weren't as efficient with their planning of the condos.
Yeah.
Which is now they feel like they can fit in the same a similar type of lifestyle into a smaller unit.
Yeah.
But they are getting squeezed still because they're removing. You know, when you walk in the door of the condo now, you're like inside the kitchen versus you had a little doorway. It might have been 10 square feet, but you had this little doorway that you entered, but those things are all being stripped out of the units to get them to try to leave the main parts that people see on the floor plans at the same, roughly the same size or the same space as best possible. But it is still changing the unit slightly.
It is,
right?
But all of us are builders in the industry are all getting more efficient with our designs. You know, try to minimize hallways and dead space.
Totally, yeah.
Getting much more smarter with the design. But it still does change the lifestyle, obviously. Yeah. And I think one thing that Peter mentioned there is that there's more emphasis now on amenity areas. As these, the living areas are much smaller, people still need a place to barbecue or walk the dog and all this stuff. So you're going to see more rooftop amenity areas or parks and all this stuff, so that people can actually get out of their boxes.
Yeah, I think that's cool. If those are run properly, it creates a little bit of a community for the building. And then that makes it different because the condos of the past, there wasn't really that. It was really just everyone had their own box and you went to your box and that's it. But if you have your box, but then you have an area that you congregate and kind of hang out, no different than if you're on a single family when you go outside on your driveway and you kind of see the neighbors, you chat with them a little bit. If you have that aspect, it does change the lifestyle that you can lead in that type of property.
100%.
And I think it makes it better. Like, I just think it makes it better for people overall.
It does, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
How are you going to run this business? Are you selling these properties that you build, or are you going to keep some as your own portfolio?
You know what? Like we would love to keep most of them. Some of them that we build, we will do basement suites in them. Some of them we don't. Some of them are unfinished basements, like typical singles or towns, and we'll sell those. However, right now we're in ultra growth mode. So we've actually had to sell off a lot of our rental portfolio to be able to fund the growth of the business with more staff. We have way more overhead now. Last year, I think we were a team of 3. We're up to like 16 people now. We have a new office that we're building out, 6,000 square feet. So we just have a lot more costs. So we've actually had to unload a lot of our rental portfolio to be able to fund the business. But moving forward, I see for the next while still developing, building, and then selling. I don't think we're going to be able to hold on to many. At least in the next one.
Yeah, the capital required and then the cash flow required to grow a business. And when we started this business, we look back and we're like, man, if we just didn't start the business and just bought a few more rental properties and just sat on those rental properties, maybe that was like the better use of our time, because the amount of money and energy, the momentum required to start something new is really high.
Yes.
So it takes a lot of monetary energy, and it takes a lot of human energy. So that really kind of sucked us good for a little while. And now we're reaping the rewards of all. Now things are kind of reestablished, and, we're kind of getting to enjoy some of the fruits of that labor. But at the beginning, it's like, holy smokes, this is
Long
really
days.
hard.
Yeah.
And selling some properties like you're talking about, it always kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But I'm impressed that you've done that, because a lot of people will define themselves as real estate investors, and they'll say, well, I'm never selling a property because I'm a real estate investor. And
Here's how many doors I own.
Yeah, here's how many doors I own. But you saw something that you want to do, and that you're switching your asset mix. You're moving from some rental property assets to building a business asset.
Yes.
And that requires some movement of capital.
Exactly.
So good on you to make that decision. Most people don't do that kind of stuff. I feel like they get trapped.
Right.
So
we recently sold one that we went through the whole process with. We purchased it through James Meggs found it on your team in St. Catharines. We severed a property, built 2 semis, added basement suites into them, and then we recently sold them. It was kind of like more of an emotional sale, because it's kind of cool keeping that, and the cash flow was great. We had refinanced that afterwards and pulled out all of our capital, so it became a unicorn deal. There was no capital left in the deal. We were still cash flowing. But like Tom, you're saying, we had to analyze what's the best use of our funds, and it was investing into the business rather than holding on to this asset.
So how's your business structured now? With Kensen going to raise capital and focus on that? Like, do you have a kind of different structures? How's it pieced together?
Yeah, there's like a web of different corps and stuff, because we have different projects. Some projects will have some partners in it. Some of them are purely gateway, like myself, 100%. And then my brother, kind of Gateway Capital, is kind of independent, but it assists with sourcing funds for our projects.
Yeah, got it.
And he's just starting out. Like, this is kind of a new thing. We identified this year that capital is our biggest barrier to growth. We have the team, we have the expertise, we get the opportunities, whether it's through our network or we're finding them ourselves. We just need the capital to be able to scale.
Yeah, you've built something kind of impressive, because now with Stephen, you have construction expertise in-house.
That's right.
You have design expertise. You know how to engage with the city. Your family's been in commercial real estate for some of your parents, right?
They
Commercial?
still own a commercial plaza. That's kind of their, like, they live off the income there. That's their pension, yes. But they're pretty much checked out now.
We help out. Yeah, got it. So has that rolled into your management?
It just rolls into our management.
That's a good pension.
Yeah,
That's a good pension.
But we have construction in-house, we have development in-house, design in-house, marketing and sales in-house, bookkeeping. And that's one aspect that a lot of people overlook, is the bookkeeping and accounting side. We have an incredible back-end team that helps the projects run smoothly, ensures our cash flow. So I'm in a cash flow meeting with my office manager every single week. It's like the biggest thing that we need to work on, especially with so many, we have over 20 projects on the go. Some are flips, some are infills at different stages.
Capital intensive.
Capital intensive, yeah. So like for investors, if you're doing one at a time, much more manageable. But if you have over 20 projects, I'm always looking at the cash flow and making sure, projecting out 6 months or further. And we also keep 3 months of operating expenses, always as a reserve fund. So those are some of the things that we've added in processes this year because of our growth and because of the increased overhead now with a larger team.
Yeah, that's smart that you do that, because you've seen it with other people that have done some developments, that not large builders but smaller ones, and then they end up getting themselves in a cash crunch.
Yes.
And then those developments end up going into some sort of receivership, or they have to sell it off, or someone else takes it over, because it's easy to do. Like, sales are being made for the properties, or the deals are coming in, and you're just like, oh, so there's some revenue there, but the revenue's not realized until a certain date.
Yep.
And then this thing has to be done now, and you need to pay some bills now to get it done. And it can get tricky.
Development is a very long cycle. There's the acquisition, and then cash outflows with the consultants going through the process. And that's not even guaranteed to get the approval. You don't get the return until the very end. So on a small scale infill, that's like 2 years later. And then actually when going through Terrian, which is a whole nother topic, this is a home warranty program in Ontario. All builders need to be registered through Terrian to be able to build and sell homes for sale. And to get your money out of there, you have to put a deposit down. And it ranges anywhere from like 15 to upwards. I've heard of as much as 40,000 per unit. And that's based on your net worth and your experience. That doesn't get released until at least a year and a half after you've sold. So there's still money that's stuck with Tarion.
After the property's not just sold, after they've taken possession.
After they've taken
Right?
possession.
Yeah. So,
they'll
after title's transferred, then they hold it to give them the funds for any warranty work.
Exactly. Like most of any repairs or maintenance will be done within a year's time. But then Tarion still waits like another 6 months before they release your deposit. So there's a lot. So Tom, as you're saying, there's a lot of BS with like the industry. Sometimes like, would we be better off just buying some rental properties and holding it, do a lot less work, a lot less stress? But at the same time, like our team loves what we do. And I think that's what helps push us day in and day out to do what we do. It often doesn't feel like a job. Obviously there's some days that are pretty shitty, but there's a lot of great days too. So we love what we do. And I think that really helps motivate us and push us towards our goals.
Why have you committed so much to networking and meeting people? Like you seem intentionally, like everybody knows Charles Waugh, and I'm sure Kensen, you're going to soon be as broadly known as your, but I feel like you mentioned Charles Waugh. It doesn't matter if I'm at the gym or here or where I'm. Hey, does anyone know Charles Waugh? Oh my God, I know Charles Waugh. So that's.
I thought it was like, where is he? I'm just trying to find that guy.
No. And it's always like everyone smiles, like you just have both of you come across this way, like a real positive energy about you. But the networking I feel is intentional that you're doing. It comes off, you're doing it, I feel, consciously.
Yeah.
Where's that coming from?
I just believe in building relationships, and relationships is one of our core values at Gateway too, but it's one of my personal ones as well. I just enjoy building relationships. There's no intent in terms of like a monetary relationship or anything. When I go,
you don't feel that from you.
No, when I go somewhere, I'm trying to build genuine relationships, and then if business happens from there in the future, great. But it's definitely not the intent. I mean, I just enjoy getting out there and being social and meeting people. And as over the years, at the beginning, 8 years ago, I went to every single meetup. There's like free meetups. There's some that you pay $5, $10, whatever. Some were terrible. Some were great. And from there, you find like organizations that resonate with you. Rockstar was a great one. I'm part of Entrepreneurs Organization. I know Nick has been a member there before as well. That's been a great organization as well. And you get to meet these really cool and interesting people. And they inspire me from their stories. I love hearing people's success stories. And it really just drives me to do more. And it pushes the boundaries of what's possible.
Yeah, I wonder at one point if either of you guys gets into politics. I mean, you're so kind of into the Hamilton community. You're still building big networks. You're still very young. I wonder if that.
They're too smart for that.
Yeah. But they have kind of the right network and they're doing the right things.
I do actually do quite a bit of political work, especially this year is a huge year for us in Ontario. June 2nd is the Ontario provincial election. And then in October, we have the municipal elections, which is very, very important.
Especially from a planning perspective and stuff.
For development and construction, that is massive.
Why? What are the risks if the wrong party gets in?
If the wrong party gets in, it will be very tough to get development approvals.
Because you think they'll just freeze? Explain more.
Yeah, well, there's certain parties that are much more pro-development, pro-building, and they want to streamline development approvals. Some other parties, not so much. They even talk about the greenbelt. Now we're not a greenfield builder, but some of the parties have talked about maybe cutting back on the greenbelt. Some have been talking about, adding more. And then in Hamilton, we have a big debate with the urban boundary. It's been a really contentious debate of whether to expand it or not. And so I know the parties have different viewpoints on that. And that's just one example. Hamilton's one example of many different communities or cities in Ontario that are debating how to manage their growth and how should they build. Should they be building up with mid-rise, high-rise? Should they be building out and expand into the urban boundary? Or should they build with infill developments? Or should it be a combination of all of it? So especially within the GTA area and Greater Golden Horseshoe, municipalities have a lot of work ahead to plan for this growth. With 400,000 immigrants coming in per year, most of that in Canada coming, I think 50% coming into the GTA area. We really need to plan for this growth, and we need to plan smart.
It's funny because some people will listen to that and think, well, yeah, we don't want all this development. But the thing is, development can be done in a good way, and I think and anti-development movement can be done in a good way and a bad way too, right? So like if you just don't allow anything ever, well, that restricts growth for us. And what a lot of people don't see is when with this immigration, this population growth is we need to accommodate it somewhere. So we need development somewhere to accommodate this. But they're like, well, I don't want it. Like, I don't want it here. I don't want it, not in my backyard, right? So we don't want it here or don't do it someplace else or do this. But at the same time, they want the benefits of the economic growth that comes with the population growth, that comes with the immigration.
Exactly.
And I think sometimes that conversation isn't had maybe, or people sometimes don't put the two together and say, okay, look, if you don't have some sort of development to accommodate growth, you don't have the growth, and then you don't get the benefit of that growth either. So, which is fine. Maybe that's your decision. You don't want that. You're like, I just want everything to stay the same forever. Cool. And that's your right to have that opinion. But at least then, if we're having that conversation, people are making that decision based on a complete picture versus just like, well, I don't want this building in my backyard, because it can be a good view, a good point of view from them, but it is simplistic if you're not taking all the other factors into it, right?
Yeah, it's unfortunate because the average person doesn't understand some of the implications of development. Like, for example, like a lot of municipalities have aging infrastructure, and our development charges, which I can get into, have increased tremendously. The development charges that developers pay to be able to build units helps pay for like infrastructure or anything that the city needs.
So new like sewers and sidewalks.
Yeah,
parks,
and that's just
trees
one
for the park.
of many, many different fees that we pay. There's another larger one called parkland dedication that's supposed to go towards building parks and stuff for amenities and for the communities. But a lot of these things is what the average person doesn't see.
Mm-hmm.
And they like it when development charges go up. But what happens is the builders end up passing it to the consumers, and then it hurts affordability.
Yeah, that to me goes back to planning. That's a whole government issue with the way they misuse of funds and stuff. I mean, I saw that just firsthand when I was at the government. I was shocked.
What would you like to see? What would really help you develop new infill projects?
Streamlined development approvals. I know that's kind of broad, but I can tell you, depending on the municipality, even a small scale infill. Like we have a lot of projects where we are proposing a keep and sever. We keep the house, we sever maybe one lot, or maybe we sever 3 lots or whatever. There's so much opposition. There's so much NIMBYism. And then there's even the process itself going through the municipalities is so cumbersome. It takes forever.
So give us an example. How long does it take in a community?
It depends on the community.
Pick one.
St. Catharines.
Okay.
They have a pre-consultation that you need to go through this process. We have a project right now. We're 6 months in, and we haven't even applied for the Committee of Adjustments yet for our severance because of all this background stuff you need to go through.
And you've already acquired the lot, or you have.
Yeah, we've already acquired the
So
lot.
It makes it even more capital intensive.
Exactly, because of carrying costs. And that's one thing that municipalities never really think of, the economic side of a project and the developers' carrying costs. They're significant. And the larger the projects, the higher those carrying costs are. Like our Toronto project with the 12 towns is a lot more to carry than one of our small scale infills in St. Catharines.
I don't understand how we're going to solve this, because if you're elected in the community, you don't want to piss off the neighbors that are voting for you, so that you're always going to push back on development. The developers are like, shit, you need to act faster because we're not even going to build. And then at a higher level, at the country level, we're just stuffing in more people. And then you have like, even, I won't get into more people through universities, but you got like all this other like population coming in here. So we just...
Well, look what's happened. Westdale is a great example of a huge population increase through universities.
Yes.
Right. With no real planning.
Yep.
And that's what you get. And now if there had been communication from the federal government, to the university saying, here's how we're going to change these non-permanent resident rules. And the university said, okay, because of this, we're going to try to, increase our enrollment. They're a private company, so they want profit. So they want more international students because they pay higher fees.
Yep.
So they're going to try to increase it, and then we're going to need housing. Then they have that conversation, and then there's some planning that gets involved, and then it could all be done at a normal rate. So an area like Westdale, then what happens, and I know this is a long process over years, but then what happens is that in the community, it can be communicated, hey guys, here's what's going on, here's how we're going to handle it, and it can be done in a normal way. So it's not just anyone trying to pick up a property and stuff, like you said earlier, 12 students into it because you're going to make some money off of it. Then it doesn't work, and then it falls apart, and then more people are like, well, we don't want anything else in our community because this is a disaster already. But it all started from the beginning when there was no communication early on.
Exactly. I think this is a top-down approach that we need to take to solve or help or mitigate with this crisis of housing affordability.
Good luck.
I know it's crazy, but this is the first time I think ever where the federal government, the provincial, and the municipal governments are all kind of trying to work together because they all identify this massive crisis here with where's the next generation? Where are the kids going to buy a home?
Live.
Where are they going to live? I think we're also at a turn right now where the governments need to decide whether we want to maintain that dream of home ownership, or are we going to be more like Europe and Asia where renting is the norm? I think
we're headed there.
Where they have to decide.
But I think the crisis is so big that we're headed there and we still don't have enough housing.
Correct.
Right? Like I think we're headed to that where everyone's just going to rent.
Well, just look at like rent.
Not everyone. I don't mean to say everyone, but the majority of people or a larger majority will rent than have in the past.
And even the rental supply is low. We need more rental supply. We need more all types of housing, whether it's affordable housing, high-end housing, everything in between. We need everything. You're right. There's a massive.
So it's great they're working together, but I feel like it's the province that's going to have to come down with the hammer and just say, listen.
So that's the plan. And the big thing, I think the government right now, I think, is careful because the election's coming up.
Yeah, got it.
So you need to be careful with what you put in place and not piss off too many people. Like you said, Tom, whether you're a councillor or work provincial government, you need to be very careful during this year of an election. Once they get into power, then they can.
I love politics.
They can put in the hammer.
Let's not say what we really want to say. Let's try to.
Well, it's weird because they spent, I'm sure, bucket loads of money on the housing affordability report. So it comes out with some pretty logical things to do. And then when they announced from a provincial standpoint, they announced the budget, like what they would include from that. Half of it wasn't there.
Yeah.
And maybe that makes sense. And half wasn't there because the municipalities would freak out with some of it. But this is like an independent kind of thing that makes a lot of sense, right? When you look at the numbers.
So I think the provincial government, they like Tom said, they have to come down with a hammer. That's what's going to have to happen to help guide or almost force municipalities to welcome this growth.
I think sorry, Charles.
No worries. And the small scale stuff, you're going to see a lot more of it.
Well, we need it.
Whether Andy Tran doing the garden suites, you're seeing they're starting to get approved now. The average person will be able to do that. And whether it's an in-laws living there or you rent out as a mortgage helper, I think you're going to see a lot more of the garden suites. We've already seen the basement suites and even the infill developments with the Severances. I think you're going to see a lot more of that. And I'm hopeful and optimistic that whichever government comes into power provincially after June 2nd, we'll put some of these measures into place.
Because if it's not done at the provincial level, you have a municipality, like maybe Hamilton makes all these awesome changes. They change the urban boundary a little bit. They allow like larger infill projects. But if Burlington right next door is just slammed and doesn't change anything, well, all the people just rush from Burlington who couldn't buy into Hamilton. And even though Hamilton made some great changes, it's still not enough.
Exactly.
Right? Or people from Toronto rush to Hamilton. So you need this provincial guideline because at the municipal level, it's just too choppy.
And without the lack of a framework from the province right now, you're seeing a lot of siloed, like the municipalities don't talk. Yeah. And it's very different between the municipalities.
Well, when they did this, I always forget. I think it's Bill 184 for the second suites when they did that, however many years ago. Prior to that, because I was looking at some of the properties and buying properties with second suites in the Brampton area. I was working up there early on, and I kind of was familiar with the area and some of the numbers. I'm like, oh, I'll look at these properties. And some of the basement suites there were, they were just death traps. They were terrible. They were built with, it was like particle board all around a stove and the outlet like in the middle of the wall. Like it's just all sorts of bad things were happening. And it got to a point that where Brampton was just outlying a stove plug in the basement because they're just like, you can't have, it was just so unsafe. There was such a problem with it. They're like, we don't want these anywhere. So then the provincial government said, hey, everyone's got to mandate a set of rules. Yep. And then if they mandated a set of rules and people followed them, and I don't know what percentage of basement apartments now in Brampton are followed versus illegal ones or whatever, but I know from the ones I've seen and different things I've seen, I'm like, wow, these types of good ones didn't really exist before.
Yep.
Because the framework was put into place and it solved a problem. Because it was a big safety problem that it solved, right? Because people were going to live there whether they wanted them to or not.
Exactly.
But it made them safer. So that's kind of like the positive side of that stuff.
Exactly.
Charles, you're doing a lot of stuff, and Kensen, we'll come to you in a second here. How do you relax and take time off? Is it the gym for you? Is that your kind of space to unwind a little bit? Because you're running, like since I've met you, you're always working.
What kind of drugs are you on?
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you taking care of yourself?
The gym. So I go to my brother and I go to the same gym in Westdale, ODN Fitness. We go there 4 or 5 times a week, every morning, 7 a.m. It's been great for me.
And I've seen you squat, dude. You squat like, I don't know. You must have been squatting since you were 3 because you can squat. There's no problem with Charles Wan squatting.
It's because I'm shorter. I think that's why.
No.
Yeah, the gym is one way for me to, like, my meditation almost, to let loose. And for me, I'm always thinking about work. I really enjoy work, and I'm working like all the time. I work crazy hours. But the gym forces me not to think of it. And another thing that we like to do is also go golfing. That will also kind of like help us relax and whatever. So those are probably the 2 main things that I do to be able to relax a little bit.
There's a lot of golf courses in West Palm, dude. You should check it out. I heard you guys have a place there. You should probably go down there.
That's why Kensen was down there for so long. He was golfing.
Work on that swing.
And then Charles, I don't know, how old are you now?
Turning 36.
36,
35 right now.
You've done so much, and you're going to do so much over the next 10 years. It's just a silly question, because what I was going to ask is, like, when Charles was 96, what will he look back on and, ask himself that he should have maybe, what could he have done differently? But at 36, doing what you're doing now, I feel like you're in the sweet spot. You're doing what you want to do. You have the right people around you.
Yep.
You could ask his wife, and she'll tell you right now what you're doing differently.
Definitely, I should probably be home more.
Yeah. You're working hard.
She's busy herself. So that's the thing. Both of us, she's an entrepreneur herself, as you guys know. She's very busy. I'm very busy. We're barely home.
Yeah.
And we're always on the go.
Yeah, but I feel like the 20s are your time to pick up skills. Yeah. The 30s are your time to put those skills into place.
Yep.
Let's make, some use of these skills. And then to me, hopefully by your 40s, you have enough momentum rolling in some area of life that you can kind of then steer the ship the way you want it.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So, and it feels like you guys are on that,
hopefully
on that path. And so now Kensen's just started this, with you. How does this evolve, Kensen? You're going to raise capital for the business, and that's going to be your focus for now on a full-time. This is what you're going to do on a full-time basis now?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, cool. And then what?
Put the Bay Street contacts to use.
and the full-time dad role.
Yeah. How long have you been a dad now?
A year and a half.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That takes a lot of.
He has a lot of energy.
Yeah. Totally.
He senses my energy. He likes me.
Yeah.
He's talking about my son, not me.
Yeah. Son likes you. And then for you guys working together, this will be new, because you haven't worked together in the past, correct?
We did at the beginning, but not as much as now, because before he was on Bay Street. So it was kind of more of a part-time thing to support the business. But now it's like full on, let's get shit done and let's do this.
How do you guys look at your business? Sorry, I just have a couple more things I want to get your opinion on. How do you guys look at your business and risks? I guess for us with Rockstar, one of the risks to us was like, oh, can we get enough investors to like be interested in working with us? Another risk was like, do interest rates like quadruple from here and just the whole real estate market becomes frozen for a little while?
Yeah.
Are there some things at a higher level that you look beyond municipal planning? And things that are a risk to your business, or are you so focused right now at the business level that it just doesn't matter?
Like the municipal, there's risk there on the approval side, but I would say like the market, like if the market for some reason tanked in the coming years, that would have a huge impact on our business.
What's tanked to you?
See, that's the thing. It's all relative.
Yeah, and is it short term or long term?
Yeah,
so
like we're not too concerned at this point, but like tanking would be, I don't know,
like a 25% drop.
25 would still be okay. And like for us, we're always, even though I'm willing to take on a lot of risks, we're still very conservative with our pro formas. So pro formas is projecting our financial return when we go into a project. And so we're always conservative with our numbers. So we kind of think that we're going to do better. We do a sensitivity analysis of best case, worst case, and middle case. And so we feel pretty confident, even if the market were to correct 20%, that we're still confident with our projects. But if it was to go way more than that, like a black swan event, like something
I think we would
crazy.
have bigger problems in the world.
Yeah.
It would be your business, our business, everybody together would be like, holy
exactly.
shit.
So like I'm able to sleep at night. I don't really like have too many concerns. Maybe I should. I don't know. Maybe he's more risk averse and thinks of more things. But interest rate is something that's coming up that will impact our business for sure as well.
One of the biggest risks as solopreneurs or duopreneurs, as you guys know, is key man risk. I think that's one of the biggest risks to our business. If anything happened to, my brothers or I, and that can have.
I forgot about that. I think I'm
impact.
Superman sometimes. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
invincible.
Yeah, I don't really. I mean, we have key man insurance and stuff like that, but we don't really. Yeah, you don't think about that. But it would be, it is a big one for sure.
I think that honestly is more than the global markets, because you can't control recessions, business cycles, whether interest rates go up or whatnot. Can't really control that. We can only be prudent in the way we look at the financials. And
Yeah, I think it's a good point. Like for us, health and wellness is very important. I know for both of you as well, it is to be able to always be a high performer in the business or at home. So taking care of our health is paramount. And I think over the past few years, or like from like 2018 to 2020, I think I kind of let that down as I was scaling the business. Didn't go to the gym. I wanted to join you guys from before, but took a couple of years off to really scale the business.
Dude, I have so many good memories of us going to the gym together. Bro coaching your brother to do muscle ups. First of all, your brother's just a maniac at the gym. I remember you took some time off and you came back and there was like a running workout and you just went out running. And then I think I found you like walking at one point. And I knew you just went out like way too fast, too hot. And then, but to your credit, you always finished everything. And then during that time, Nick, this isn't going to be a lot of weight for you, but for Charles and I, this was a lot of weight. We did this one deadlift workout. No, I swear to God, I just remember this to this day. I think it was 315, but I'm not sure.
It was 315.
Okay. And we were doing it for a set of 10.
10
then
reps.
We would rest, and then we did it again or something.
Yeah.
I just remember putting the bar down, and I think it was like every 3 minutes on the minute or something. And I remember putting the bar down on one of the rounds and just backing up and being so lightheaded, like I felt like I was going to float away.
I almost passed out.
Yeah.
I was seeing stars. I don't know how you did
and
that.
I remember looking at Charles because you were doing it.
Yeah.
I remember looking at you going, well, I don't know if Charles is doing it. I guess I should be able to do it. And then Charles, I think you were looking at me like, are we still doing this?
Yeah.
And it was just insane. It was one of the craziest workouts that we ever did. And then one other memory is this one time Dan was getting us to do cleans.
Oh,
and
my
we were
goodness.
working our way up for like 10 weeks. And it's not like really heavy, but we got to like, I think my personal goal was like 225 pounds. I had never done before. We got to 225. And then I think the next week we went heavier. We got to like 235. And then the next week we started adding weight and we hit 250.
That was crazy.
And it was like one of the happiest moments of my freaking life.
Still is.
Getting that, because we both did it on the same day. And I don't think neither of us have done it again. Dude, you're never allowed to lift that again.
I know.
Right? If you're going to lift 250 again, you got to tell me so I can be there.
I think the bro coaching really helped. Like that environment.
It was so awesome.
I think if it was like, I have to look at Tom like, oh, he's doing it, I gotta do it as well.
Yeah,
Like, we helped
it
each
was so
other.
good. And I'm sure you guys.
It's fun. Those environments are fun.
Really fun, yeah.
Yeah, yesterday Nick programmed something for his birthday, and we got to the gym later.
Did
We
you do
modified
Fran?
it.
Did you do Fran?
No, I'm not doing that again. I've done it enough times. No, this wasn't necessarily for my birthday. It happened to be my birthday yesterday. But when I go in the morning, by the time the few guys that I'll work out with, it's always like, okay, well, who's got something we're doing today?
Yeah.
So we all lift our weights, and I was like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
So it's whoever comes up with something, and I had thought about something the day before that I wanted to do, and then I heard Dan told me this morning. He's like, yeah, Tom came in. He goes, they were programming God knows what. And he goes, I just told them like, this is what you need to do today.
It was this horrible workout. It was like 5 rounds, 200-meter run, and then 15 wall balls, but the heavier wall balls, I think 25-pound wall balls for 5 rounds. And then it was then a 1 minute break. And I'm like, okay, thanks for the 1 minute break. And then after the 1 minute, you do 4 rounds of rower, 15 calories on the rower, I think.
And 10 squat
and
cleans.
10 squat cleans. They had it programmed at 135. I did 115.
Wow.
Forget it. And then a 1 minute break again. And then you did 3 rounds on the assault bike. I think 15 calories or something.
Yeah, it was 10 and 10 and then 5 full snatches. So like
snatches.
It was supposed to be 5, 5, and 5, but then I had to get home to see my daughter needed some help with math before she went to school. So I had to get home at a certain time. So I'm like, guys, we got to by the time we started, I'm like, I got to shorten it a little bit. So we made it 5, 4, and 3.
It's just devastating. And then Mike and Jonathan there at the gym, they're like, well, what's our buyout? So we do this thing. And they're like, hey, what's our buyout? So I'm like, okay, 50 calories on the bike. So then we go on the bike for 50 calories. I'm like, what the hell are we doing? This is just psychotic. But there's something beautiful about it. I don't know what it is. It's just amazing. And I'm sure you guys get that rush of adrenaline.
It helps train our mindset too, like to push the limits. And we're on my brother and I were at the gym, we're on a cardio cycle right now. And like today and yesterday, I don't even know how. I heard he said he swam after the gym today. I'm like, was the workout not enough? But like yesterday and today, we had to go outside and get some air. I swear I was seeing stars again. It reminded me of the time where me and you, Tom, were deadlifting 315 for
so
10
good.
reps.
There's something about suffering. I just like putting myself in a situation where I'm going to suffer because I'm not nearly as good at this stuff as Nick, but I like throwing myself in situations where I'm testing myself. I'm like, am I about to give up right now, or am I going to get through this?
Exactly.
And you actually build confidence because a whole bunch of times you're like, there's no way I can finish this workout. But the fact that you finish it, that spills over into other areas of life. It's just so weird.
Your hero workout that you did, Glenn, is still the most inspiring workout I've ever seen. Him and Mike DeSermo did it. It was crazy.
I know. I got messages in the middle of it saying, hey, I think your brother might die because he couldn't the rope climb. I think you were stuck on it at one point or something.
Tom had trained
falling.
for 12 weeks, and like I was just like a cheerleader for that day, and I wasn't part of the 12-week training. I just did the normal training, and midway through, Tom was failing on the rope climbs. I didn't know what to say. Yeah. I don't want
everything
to hide.
started moving. I remember I was leaning against the wall. I saw you and Erwin at the door talking to each other. It was like slow motion. And then I looked over at Dan and he was going to Rachel. Yeah. And he was talking to Rachel, I think like, holy shit, Tom's going to fail this workout that he trained 12 weeks for. Yeah. I don't know what to say anymore.
I think he was saying he's going to fall off the rope and
hurt himself.
Yeah. So, might have to take him to the hospital.
Dan said, hey,
I could look up the messages.
You know what the crazy part is? Mike DeSormo trained for the whole thing. He finished the workout. I don't even think he was breathing hard. He finished the workout. He's like, hey, that wasn't too bad. He took a washroom break in the middle of it. Meanwhile, Mike is a beast. But you know what? Dan was a great coach. He saved me because he said, hey, take 2 minutes. Don't try the rope climb. And that was enough to get my forearms some rest, where I was able to get some grip again.
Thank goodness we had Dan there, because me and Erwin were debating what to say. And we're like, I don't know what to say.
I know. I saw you guys going in and out and then just looking at me and leaving. I'm like, okay, it's not that bad. I'm not like that embarrassed if I don't finish this thing. But I remember telling Nick afterwards, because I ran the last mile at the end of that workout, I couldn't raise my arms because of the rope climb. So I was running with my arms down, and I had never run like that before. And Nick was like, why didn't you just like swing your arms onto your shirt and grab your shirt? And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so smart.
Yeah, sometimes when I leave, I have to hook them onto my shirt a little bit.
I've never done that. I'm going to try that
so much.
I've never been. So you guys have been in that environment where you can't lift your arms to run.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, holy, this is new. And then
to your credit, because it ended with 100 burpees, and I think you had to make it under the time cap. You had
fastest 100. I did the first 30 unbroken, and one of my hands wouldn't open because of the forearm was so frozen. So I did a fist and an open hand for the burpee on the ground, and I did 30 straight. I even remember saying to myself, like, that was pretty good. I just did 30 burpees straight, and I got through the workout. There was a 45-minute time cap, and it was like 44 minutes.
It was insane.
It was great. And then Tyler came in at the end, another one of the trainers, and he didn't know what I'd just been through, and he saw me just lying on the ground. He's like, what happened to that? Is that guy going to be okay? And he just kind of like walked away. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh, man.
Anyway, these are the good times. So listen, what does it mean to you guys to be living life on your terms now? So like when you hear your life on your terms, is it doing exactly what you're doing? What does that mean to each of you? One of you go first.
You want me to go first?
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's just being able to do what you want when you want. I know it's like cheesy to say that, but I'm really enjoying what I'm doing right now, and I feel I personally am living life on my own terms. Maybe take a few extra weekend trips away, maybe, but no, everything's good, and like your slogan, "Your life, your terms," totally resonates with me.
Yeah, cool. It's fun to watch you, Charles, man. It really is. Seriously.
You. Yeah, for me, it's more about being able to manage your own time. People think maybe money's the most important resource in life, but really it's about time. Like, would you trade spots with Warren Buffett right now? At age 90, I wouldn't. And so having that ability to be flexible and manage time, and go work out and spend time with family and work hard and have a nice balance and enriched life. I think that's what it's about. Just keeping it simple and enjoying friends, connections, and being able to choose who you do business with rather than being forced to meet a target. You know what I mean?
You thought that before, but it seems like, anyways, based on your decision at 28, has anything changed in your thought since you've become a father?
Yeah.
Around that particular thing about, what life on your terms means? Yeah,
for sure. Definitely the importance of time. I mean, everyone has the same 24 hours, but it just feels like the responsibility of a father, like you want to show up. Like I personally want to be present. A present father. I want to, have my son feel secure. And so has that impacted the way I look at, my responsibilities as a father, and also in a career, 100%. Working more efficient, getting up earlier. But I love it. I mean, it's like the most chaos you'll ever experience in your life, but it's like the most rewarding thing as well.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's very time freedom seems like a key.
100%.
Do what you want when you want it.
Exactly.
Always appreciate this, guys. Good seeing you.
A lot of fun.
Yeah. So how would people find you? What's the website to go to? If they're interested,
walk around rest day.
you're gonna find
you know Charles and Kensen.
yeah. Just go through Hamilton, and you're gonna bump into Charles and Kensen Wah.
Yeah, for me, the website is gatewaygroup.ca, and if they want to contact me, I guess they can go on Instagram. My Instagram is Charles Wah. That's my name.
Cool.
Yeah, they can DM me on Facebook, Kensen Wah.
You still use Facebook, eh?
I just use Messenger.
Yeah.
I don't use like any social media other than maybe Facebook DMs.
Good for you.
Cool. Awesome, guys. Appreciate this. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. You can find every new episode of the Your Life, Your Term show on all the major streaming platforms. So Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. And if you'd like to get free copies of some of the books that we've put together, like these right here, or some of the reports that we've put together, like these right here, you can find all of those at www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's it for now. Until next time, your life, your terms.